Terence Bud Crawford and Virgil Ortiz instantly just became the biggest fight in the sport of boxing at 154 pounds. I really do like that fight. Obviously, these guys started not as welterweights, but they kind of got into each other's vision, kind of on a little bit of a collision course. But you could argue that, Terence Crawford was on another level when it came to 147. Maybe he still is on another level. But Tszyu and Virgil Ortiz, obviously August 3rd, that's the next fight for Virgil. It's not going to be an easy night, but I do pick Virgil. I do pick the younger guy to come out on top. I just think that he hits too hard, man. I think the power is going to show, the aggression is going to show, but he has to be very tactical in his approach to beat Tszyu, because this is going to be a big level up in competition. So I know he'll be ready. I just think it'll be a competitive fight, at least for the first half and the beginning of the fight. But I do pick Virgil. I'm very confident, but I'm also a big fan, so maybe I'm biased, but I do like Virgil and Terence Crawford as a fight. I think that's a huge fight, and even Terence Crawford said that Virgil Ortiz is a very possible fight. He didn't say that about Boots, but a guy like Virgil who's fighting at 54, where Terence Crawford's also fighting at 54 soon, so it sets it up very well. The winner of that fight could very well get a Terence Crawford fight or a Fondora fight, because Fondora hasn't really made his plans clear on who he decides to face next. It could be Errol Spence. That would be a little bit weird for me, just because Errol Spence was the loser, and now he has a title shot, but Terence Crawford doesn't. It's just like the messy business of boxing. Errol Spence is closer to that PBC side, so he has an easier track to make that fight happen. So I get the business and the political side of it. It's just from a moral and reasonable perspective, it just doesn't sit right with me. But hey, that's the sport of boxing for you. It's not always as clean cut, but in the ring there are no lies told, and I think Terence Crawford and Virgil Ortiz, not trying to look too far ahead, these two both have their respective opponents to get through first. I just think that's the fight. That's a fan-friendly fight, if you've ever asked for one. Virgil Ortiz and Terence Crawford. You got two fighters that are very aggressive, very talented, can both, be very explosive, heavy hitters for sure. I would argue Virgil Ortiz has heavier hands than Terence Crawford, so Terence is going to have to be careful. This is a fighter that's in his prime, feels comfortable at the weight class, isn't necessarily ripped at 154, but he feels comfortable, he feels stronger. Virgil has obviously had a lot of some complications, some bumps in the road when it came to his physical health, and it comes along with the territory of the politics of boxing, not being able to negotiate a fight, and when you do, the opponent falls through. So he's had to deal with a lot of trials and tribulations throughout his career. Having his body give up on him. Boxing, like we know, is a taxing sport, but then it definitely has its pros and cons, but these guys love it. These guys love to compete. They want to fight the best. So Terence Crawford and Virgil Ortiz is a major fight. It's interesting to me that Terence is kind of entertaining Virgil a little bit more than he's entertaining Boots, and maybe it's because Boots hasn't necessarily earned his stripes yet and is campaigning at 47 right now. But I'd like to see him move up to 54 and get some big name fights, and get his name in the conversation, because him and Terence Crawford, that's a big fight if he beats let's say Virgil and Terence fight, assuming they beat their opponents in August, and then it's Virgil and Terence Crawford. The winner of that fight should really fight Boots, because Boots is going to have his name there by that time, in my opinion, because I would argue that Virgil Ortiz, it's a tough one, but I think that Virgil Ortiz beating a guy like Tszyu is going to earn that Terence Crawford fight before a guy like Boots Ennis does. I'm not saying that Crawford and Virgil is a more competitive fight. I think they're both competitive fights for Crawford, in my opinion. I think Virgil, really could give him a lot of trouble, because like I said before, Spence, stylistically, it was a tough matchup. I don't know how Virgil will do against a southpaw. We'll see. But ultimately Virgil can crack. We saw his most recent outing against Thomas Delorme. He looked phenomenal. He even said in an interview he wasn't really trying to knock him out. He just placed the shot so perfectly that it just hit an off switch. So Virgil's he's the real deal for sure. He's one of those guys at 47 you were like, man, he could give Crawford or Spence a lot of trouble. And even if let's say Virgil goes in there, beats Tszyu, that'd be big. You know, he has options. He could fight Spence. He could fight Boots. He could fight Crawford. You know, there are a lot of names. He could fight Fondora, the champ. So you could potentially get a title shot. So, you know, a lot of big opportunities. Obviously, fighting Tszyu is a big shot too. But I just mean, you know, Fondora, ultimately where he's at now, like he's that guy. Because even though I think Tszyu should have won that fight, should have stopped that fight. You know, whatever happened. You know, you can't cry over spilled milk. Fondora's the champ. But beating Tszyu on August 3rd would be a big statement for Virgil Ortiz. Automatically gets his name, you know, in there with all the top dogs like Spence, Crawford, and, you know, Fondora, like I said. But it's not going to be an easy fight. I just don't. It really depends. It could play out in a number of ways. Even Virgil said he doesn't even know himself how the fight would potentially play out. But it's going to be a good one, guys. That's going to be a treat. Boxing's in a great place right now, where the best are now, you know, kind of fighting the best. We're seeing these young guys who were considered prospects, who are trying to get their names, you know, proven within their weight classes. And you have guys like Vergil, you have guys like Boots, who will probably take over 154, assuming Crawford retires soon. You know, these are the next gens, but, you know, Crawford's not going to give up his spot just that easily. He's trying to become undisputed at 54, and if he can do that, you're looking at some all-time GOAT status stuff right there. You got to start giving him his respect. But you know, you're only as good as your opposition, in my opinion. A lot of people are comparing him to Floyd and Manny. You could argue that Terence is going to go down better than Canelo, but I think Manny and Floyd were just like different, because I've been hearing a lot of that talk. I've been hearing a lot of you know, comparisons to, you know, Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather. I just think Bud, as good as Bud is, I think that, you know, unfortunately, I'm not saying that he couldn't have similar resumes to guys like Manny and Floyd, but I just think he's at a time where there isn't much credible opposition out there. At least they're not like big names, people that, you know, we can really give him crazy credit for. You know, you beat Spence, you beat Sean Porter. These are big resume names, but, you know, other than that, there are a lot of like, this guy was on the way out, this guy was done. So it's not his fault. He's still pound for pound number one, in my opinion. I just think when it comes to Floyd and Manny, those guys faced like champions. Those guys were a different breed. But it's a different time in boxing now. You know, maybe Terence Crawford's just that good, where the level of opposition just can't possibly catch up to a guy like Terence Crawford. Maybe he is just that good, and that the disparity in skill, you know, there are levels, and maybe Terence is just on that other level. But Tszyu and Virgil Ortiz is a great fight, but I would love to see, assuming, you know, both guys get through their fights, Virgil Ortiz and Terence Crawford. That's the real fight I want to see. I don't know who wins that fight. I think, you know, Terence, you got to go with Terence in terms of the experience, but that Virgil's power, like the same way Ryan Garcia has that pop, Virgil could land a shot at any time that could change the course of the fight. So I think that's a 50-50 fight. That's a gimme. That's a pick me for sure. Like that's a pick 'em fight, because I just don't, you know, Crawford would have to hurt Virgil early, get that respect. Otherwise, Virgil's just going to keep coming forward, and I think potentially he could hurt Crawford. So that's a great fight. That's a competitive one. Right now, I can't pick a winner. Let's get to August 3rd first and see what happens. But let me know in the comments who you guys got, Terence Crawford or Virgil Ortiz, if they were to fight. I know a lot of you guys are going to say Crawford, but I do think if Virgil puts on a great performance against Tszyu and stops him in tremendous fashion, I think our opinions may change a little bit. But let me know in the comments who you guys got. Thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys on the next video. Peace. That's going to do it for another NASFight Media video, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. It's been your boy, Matt Nabong, with another video. Hope you guys enjoyed it all. Thank you guys for the constant support. Salute to y'all always. It's been your boy.